Welcome back to Twin Cities Safer Cycling, your one-stop shop for tips, tricks, thoughts, and musings on how to reduce your risk of death and injury at the hands of illegal and dangerous driving in the Twin Cities when you're on your bike. 1720. This is our first practical skills application ride-along episode. The idea with these episodes is I'm just going to ride my normal commute, do the things I normally would, and I'm going to hopefully coherently ramble in a stream of consciousness manner about the safety decisions I'm making on the road. Not getting over here because this becomes a single lane on the other side of the intersection. So I'm gonna just stay where I'm at. We're going to discuss specifically, bearing in mind the three concepts we've talked about in the previous videos, and those are safety priorities, relaxed readiness, and maintaining and laying a line. So I'll touch on other subjects, but those will be our main focus. Here on 50th, we're going to maintain our line in the right tire tread, and pretty left on that tire tread, because with this two-lane with a turning lane, people really like to pass us too closely. We want to discourage that as much as possible. We're also going to totally ignore that gutter. That gutter is a trap of broken pavement and dirt and debris and so forth. It is a no-go zone. Write that off as part of the usable pavement. And once we made our decision about where to lay and maintain our line, pretty much 80 to 85% of our risk management work is done. The driver is either going to plow into us from behind and kill us, or they're not. And beyond choosing a good place to lay and maintain our line, not a lot we can do about that. I'm being careful to stay way outside the door zone here. The door zone should never be judged to begin only within the arc of an opening door. You need to account for the fact that people often step outside that arc when they get out of their car. And the fact that parked cars always present an additional increased risk of a pedestrian darting out from behind one of those parked cars. So, a lot of people find the realization that their locus of control in terms of their injury and death on the road is fairly minimal as being an anxiety-provoking or worrisome realization. In other words, cataloging the sort of things they have control over and the sort of things they don't have control over is something that is detrimental to their sense of relaxed readiness. But I find the opposite to be true. If I know what I'm trying to protect myself from and what I can't protect myself from, I get a lot more relaxed because I can work on letting my worry go and focus on the things over which I do have control. MBH. So one of the features of Lindale that's interesting is that the line's not going to be straight. On a lot of roads that don't have these left turn cutouts, your line is just straight the whole time. And here, we're going to bend our line around those cutouts so that we maintain our line not relative to the width of the road or the direction of the road, but relative to the placement of the lane itself. That keeps us predictable. It keeps us in the foveal vision of drivers. It also moves us over slightly at each intersection, so that impatient ass fuckers who want to pass us illegally inside the intersection can do so. It blows off a little of their steam. They then pose a little less of a threat to us. We'll deal with filtering in a different video. Don't worry about it for now. Just know I'm doing it for a reason and it is legal. But for the most part, unless we come upon some presenting risk, we're just going to park our ass here and leave our ass here. Maneuver around that pothole and then come right back to the line. Maintain that line. If we left it to move over here, we just have to re-enter the lane in another 50 feet, presenting a risk to us and to everyone else on the road. 491 UEW. Passed me that close with a child in the car. Fucking crazy person. Anyways, pretty relaxed. Lindale is always a little bit more of a stressful time for me because the infra makes it such that drivers can't handle their emotions very well when they don't get to go quite as fast as they'd like to. But for the most part, I still can't do anything about that risk. So rather than try to hold all that tension in my body, I just let go. Even this stretch of road, you go into that parking cutout, you just gotta re-enter the lane right as soon as that parking cutout ends. So we're gonna prioritize our own safety over the emotions of drivers, make decisions that protect ourselves, even if they annoy people behind us a little bit. 021 MBL. And we're gonna stay way the fuck outside this door zone here. We're right in the middle of driver's vision where we are. That's a good place to be. Alright. This is good. This is nice. Deep breaths. Let go of the irritation and the worry. Just enjoy being on the road. Now, as we start to get up towards Lake Street, we're 8 blocks south of Lake Street right now. Progressively, as we get further and further north, the density of parking and the density of pedestrians is going to go up. You're aware that honking is illegal, correct? Unless you're warning me of a danger, honking at me is illegal. I'm not required to get off to the side of the road. This is the safest place for me to ride, and you can just ease off the gas, have a little patience, and then pass me where it's safe and legal. You don't need to honk at me. I'm well within my rights. Go on, sir. Get out of here. I don't want to talk to you anymore. Again, not moving over to the right because we just have to reintegrate. after half a block. Deep breath, shake off the frustration of that guy caring that we're on a bike, even though we're not affecting his travel time in the slightest. Move around him, move around the rest of this traffic. Get on up here in the front where we're visible. We're protected in the front and the rear by large pieces of stationary metal. Very little can happen to us in that position. Maintain that line. Left side of the right tire tread. Be prepared to edge over to the center a little bit more in case that yahoo comes up behind us with the horn again. Stay right within his foveal vision. He might be an asshole, but he probably doesn't want a prison sentence. We're pretty relaxed. It's a pleasant day out. Anyway, so as we get closer to lake, the density of everything is going to increase. The amount that we have to look out for pedestrians is going to increase. So just be aware of that, plan for it. Bring your attention towards those things. We owe pedestrians our care. We're obligated to put their lives and safety before ours because we made the decision to use a machine to get to work today that can hurt them. It's important that we take that responsibility very seriously indeed. All right. Now we're going to expand into 4-lane. Traffic speed's going to pick up. Density of cars on our right is going to go up significantly. Risk of pedestrians crossing between those cars is going to go up significantly. But as soon as you introduce a passing lane, drivers do tend to behave a lot better. And again, that guy's travel time was not affected in the slightest. Going to keep an eye out on all 4 corners here. Watch for pedestrians. Generally speaking, pedestrians in this part of town are scared enough of getting hit by a car that they adhere to the signals pretty well, but not always. This is one of the reasons it's good to be conscious of the time of day that you're traveling and what the time of day and the time of week imply about pedestrian behavior. For instance, downtown on a weekend in the evening is going to involve a lot of drunk people. Those people don't have very good situational awareness or capacity to move due to their gross motor impairment. And it is our job to keep them safe, make sure that our vehicle doesn't hurt them. Now it's a little early for drunks today. It is a Friday though. People get a little cray-cray on Fridays. Go ahead and get past that person instead of stopping or passing. We're going to maintain our line out here at the outer edge of the lane, because traffic on Lyndale tends to stop a lot for no reason. And anytime we're pretty close to the rear end of another vehicle, we want to move to that left spot so that we can pass them if we need to. Please watch your door, ma'am. I wasn't in danger of that door, but another cyclist traveling further to the right could have been. And usually a conscientious driver wouldn't open their door under those circumstances, even if they knew the bike looked outside of their door area. Anyways, on Lyndale, I keep it even more centered to the lane than usual because the lane's pretty narrow. The parking density is very high, so a lot of chance of dooring. And I need to be able to pass if I need to when traffic backs up. And it's very hard to pass from the right side of the lane passing to the left because you can't see what's further down the road when you're behind a vehicle. So let's get on down the road. Lyndale is a pretty relaxed place for me. I know it pretty well. Can't tell if that person's crossing or waiting for the bus. But he doesn't appear to be using his right-of-way. So I think he's stopping for the bus. So I'm going to take off. But it's good to check. Only cost me 10 seconds of my day to check. I would normally holler out, but Lyndale's so noisy and busy that I feel that might get more confusing than it's worth. Very relaxed. Not a lot of risks right now that I can do much about. But there's always that chance, so we throw our attention around the road. Keep an eye out, especially for beds, but also for wacky-ass behavior. Like that person just stepping out into the road without necessarily looking. I owe her my care. Move on up to the front here. Now, I'm not in my line right now, and that causes me a certain amount of anxiety. It's good to cultivate that mild anxiety when you're outside of your line because it works like a magnet pulling you towards that line. When your line feels like home, you're always going to be wanting to get back to home as soon as it's possible to do so safely. So, just sit with that tension and relieve it as soon as you can safely. On your left. Now we're going to get back in our lane. Now, up here underneath 94, there is an entrance. It's currently closed, but there is an entrance. Oh, it's open now. To the bikeway that runs along Hennepin Lyndale. We're not going to get onto that because getting onto that bikeway right there means crossing an unsignalized intersection with the 94 on-ramp. People are impatient. People are not looking. People are moving way too quick across that on-ramp intersection. It's not safe. And further along here, all along the Hennepin-Lindale clusterfuck, people routinely park in the middle of the bike lane and the crosswalk while they're waiting to turn right illegally on red. There are signs preventing that at all those intersections, but that doesn't keep anybody from doing it. So this path is also not very safe. It's also a shared use path with pedestrians, and so riding on it puts peds at some risk, even though it's designated for cyclists, or it's designated not to be mixed use. Peds are supposed to be on the sidewalk, but they often aren't. So easier just to avoid it entirely, and safer. It's not that it's a bad thing to have that bike path, because it does encourage people who are intimidated by riding in the Hennepin-Lindale main road to be on their bikes at all, which is a good thing. Now, for the most part, traffic stays in the same place up here in this 3-lane clusterfuck of stupidity. We've got about 3 blocks until we have a bike lane that's actually safe to use on the right. So we're just going to hammer towards that bike lane pretty much as fast as we can. Don't move over to the right turn lane here because we can't proceed legally straight through. So we find our line in this lane and we hold it. Unless we come on some stop traffic, and then we move our line to avoid it. But it looks like we're going to be clear. Now you want to watch for people making a last-minute, improperly signaled right turn at each of these intersections. And now here's our bike lane. Zoom! Right into the bike lane. Alright. When we're riding in this bike lane, from here until it stops having this protective buffer, we can place our line pretty much where the hell we want. It won't really affect our safety one way or another. But I find the center to be the best place. It gives you maneuverability in either direction. And now we lose our buffer. And we're going to keep it central to the bike lane even now until we get up here where there's sidewalk along the road. And then we're going to move our line to the left of the bike lane. And the reason for that is just to avoid any risk to us and to pedestrians when pedestrians step out into the bike lane. It also serves a benefit in keeping us in the foveal vision of drivers, but all in all, that wouldn't be a huge detriment if we lost that ability right here by staying more central. In other words, if there weren't a pedestrian risk, we'd still probably move to the center of the lane rather than the left. I'm gonna bring you on up to 9th Street. I think that'll be a good place to cut the video. It'll pass through a couple of dangerous intersections. 11th and 12th are a particular note because people turn left across those intersections without checking the oncoming bike lane for traffic. So we have to pay special attention to the drivers turning left in oncoming traffic. And our level of anxiety, arousal, whatever you want to call it, is reasonably high in downtown. There's a lot more stuff going on, and so there's more risk of us not paying attention to the right piece of that stuff with regards to our safety or the safety of others. So we're gonna keep this line, move out of the way of that manhole cover, and then move on to the left across this intersection. Take our lane now rather than when we get across, so the drivers approaching us from the rear are aware that we're here and that we're taking the lane, because we want to control that lane on the other side. You'll notice there are sharrows across the way. We're going to just ignore the shit out of those because they're a death trap. They're way too far to the right. Downtown Hennepin northbound and actually southbound are both sort of in between widths of road, which is to say that they're wide enough so drivers think you should be further to the right, and it may even feel to you that you should be further to the right, but they're not so wide that we can actually safely move to the right. If we move to the right up here, we end up in a driver's peripheral vision. We end up with a great risk of getting winged by a close pass or hitting a pedestrian that steps out in front of us. So it's best to just keep it central. Despite yahoos like 666 GNA, we're going to signal our right turn and turn on to 10th. It was 10th, not 9th. Tisk, tisk, tisk. Anyways, I hope this has been helpful, and I'll be producing more substantive videos very soon, and I hope you guys all ride safe. Talk soon.